Hello and welcome back to Cloveriness. My name is Michelle and I'm here today to do another review for you, this time of To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I absolutely adore the front cover and that it has an actual Korean person on the front cover. Yay! Now I do enjoy every single book by her that I've read so far, but I was especially super excited to read this book, and that's because of the premise. This is a story about Lara Jean. And what Lara Jean does is she writes letters to all the boys that she's loved. Usually this happens after she realizes that nothing is ever going to come of it, and her letters are a way of saying goodbye and moving on. And unfortunately, one day Lara Jean comes to find out that somebody has mailed all of these letters, and the boys that were never meant to read these love letters have now read these letters. And the most awkward of all is that one of the letters she's written is to her older sister's ex-boyfriend and her neighbor. And that sort of awkward situation is something that I live for. Now, one of the things that I loved a lot about this book is not only is it about Lara Jean and, you know, how she manages to get through this weird situation that she's in, but it also feels like a story about family and sisters. And because not only does Lara Jean have an older sister, Margot, who's gone abroad to study, but she also has a younger sister, Kitty, and I really loved the whole dynamic between these three sisters. Lara Jean feels very strongly about her feelings for Josh, and that nothing can ever happen with it because, you know, he still is Margot's ex-boyfriend, and, you know, she does feel that sense of responsibility not to allow anything to happen because of her sister. And really adored Lara Jean's younger sister, Kitty. I thought she was amazing. She's really stubborn and sulky, and there's a lot of scenes in which Lara Jean is trying to make it up to Kitty so that Kitty will talk to her again. And I feel like Kitty is quite manipulative and in this kind of cute little sister way, and I thought she was brilliant, especially the way that she interacts with the love interests in this story. I'm really sorry that this review is all over the place, by the way. So the letters that are sent out is like the main focus of the story, so that's what we're going to talk about next. I did love reading Lara Jean's letters. A couple of them are included within the book. And there weren't as many letters as I was expecting. I did think that there would be, you know, dozens or, you know, at least over 10, and it turns out there are just 5 letters. She is a little, I guess, a little pickier about who she chooses to write these letters to, and the two that are the most influential in this book, as I've mentioned, is one to her sister's ex-boyfriend Josh, who's also the next door neighbor, and she really plays up this fact that she was interested in Josh long before Margot was, and she fell in love with him first, but Margot got there ahead of her. And so she writes this letter to say, you know, I loved you first, but you're with Margot, so I love you, but goodbye. And it's not something that I don't think that she really dealt with properly, and that is a lot of what this book is about, is her feelings for Josh and, you know, what's going to happen with that. And at the same time, a letter is sent out to Peter, somebody who used to be Lara Jean's friend a long time ago, and then like their whole friendship circle kind of collapses and she doesn't have as much interaction as she did before. And in an unusual twist, Peter, this boy that she sent this letter to, it was one of her first, it was from a long time ago, decides to come in and sort of rescue Lara Jean from this uncomfortable situation with Josh, because obviously when Josh receives this letter he's a little bit confused. He wants to talk it out with Lara Jean, and Lara Jean just doesn't want anything to do with that at the moment, and instead she starts this fake relationship with Peter in order to save face. And that is one of my criticisms of this book. Jenny Han uses the term save face throughout, and it was several different points, and somebody, and you know, Lara Jean or Peter or whatever kept using the phrase save face, and I wanted a little bit more explanation from it. I wanted her to say that she ended up in this relationship because, you know, she wanted to not be embarrassed. She didn't want to confront a really awkward situation. I didn't want to keep hearing the phrase save face. And it was really, really sweet. I did enjoy this story a lot. Once I sat down to actually properly start reading it, I really flew through the pages. It felt incredibly emotional, not only in all of these like nostalgic feelings of love from somebody as a teenager looking back at the loves of her life so far, but also in these feelings of sisterhood and friendship, and a lot goes on in this story. And I thought that Lara Jean felt incredibly young at the start of this story. Like she didn't feel her age. So at times when she said, you know, she has a license and can drive, I was like, what? Surely you're like 14, based on her voice and her experiences and everything. So at times it did feel a little bit strange, but I also really enjoyed the journey that Lara Jean goes on, and as she confronts her feelings to Josh and Peter, and she really finds out what's important to her, and you know, including her sisters and herself. I don't feel like I'm getting across a lot of my feelings very well in this book, but what I'm saying is that I loved it, but there were also some things that felt a little bit weird. One of them is, why did she write out the people's, you know, full names and addresses if she's gonna put it in a hat box in her closet? Some of those things, like little niggles. I really enjoyed it, and I'm so excited to read the sequel. I want to know more about Lara Jean's relationships. So pick this one up if you haven't already. I do really recommend it. So that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.